Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you my weekly review of The Strain on FX. This week we've seen Season 3, Episode 5, which was called Madness. And I want to apologize for the lateness of this review. I know the episode obviously aired last night, but I had some personal stuff going on, so I had to catch the replay around 1 in the morning, and didn't really feel up to recording a review a little after 2 in the morning, so it is what it is, but I definitely still wanted to get my review out of this week's episode to you guys, and, Strain's like one of my main priority shows, so it's not going to be one that I'll just skip over, for a week or anything like that. So you're always guaranteed my reviews coming out for the show at some point, I haven't missed a review since the first episode aired, in the first season, Night Zero, and I'm not planning on stopping anytime soon. But yeah, Madness, pretty good episode. I'd say it was probably one of the best of the season. This is probably my favorite of the season, along with maybe the premiere New York Strong, and the episode with, of course, Bolivar's body being destroyed. The fourth episode. This just advanced a lot of the plot again. It really feels like a really strong builder type of episode. But we also got some really good flashbacks with Setrakian that actually tied back really well to something we had heard about in Season 1. But we'll talk more about that once we get to it. And then we also made a pretty big discovery from Fett's perspective of the upcoming episode of Battle for Central Park and what exactly the strigori have planted there. So it's definitely going to be a pretty intense episode next week. Don't mind the weird thing I just did. But I guess this is there's a little bit of a time skip here. I think it was just by 2 weeks, 14 days or something like that. But we get this opening from Setrakian, and basically the infection has gone global, because we hear about it being in, I forget the other countries that were mentioned, but it's cross continents now. It's in Canada. It's all around the U.S. It's really more of a threat than we ever imagined. It's far beyond just that self-contained New York thing we were initially thinking. We know it was in Washington as well, and probably throughout various parts of the U.S. Now it appears to have gone completely across it. Now it's even went over to probably Europe and stuff like that too, and Africa. So yeah, we think it's a major blow to at least send the Master running into a new body, but it turns out it's just it's made the infection more rabid, if anything, really. So that's pretty detrimental to see for sure. Of course, with David Bradley narrating, it's always kind of epic, so it works. That was pretty cool. Eph and Dutch, they're having this little chess match, which I really like the Eph and Dutch scenes we've been getting together. Some people don't like them because I feel like it's going for that inevitable love triangle type of thing, and maybe I could kind of see Eph and Dutch hooking up at some point. But I wouldn't find it completely unfitting now. They're kind of building up to it in a understandable way, I think. And I do like sort of their chemistry together, sort of how they play off one another. I think it's actually pretty good. Corey Stoll and Ruggedamentes, of course. And of course, this they do this as a way to draw on the strigori. They ended up capturing one of them, and they also noticed that the bioweapon that they had previously been using before is becoming so very little effective that it's probably not as bad as herpes at this point. Which I thought was pretty funny. We also see Fett in the opening. He plants these trackers on the strigori, which is a pretty clever way to track them and see where they go. If they head to a nest, or the Master himself, maybe it's a pretty good thing to do. Pretty good strategy for sure. Obviously, I'm looking at my notes here. Check that. Anyway. We get this kind of interesting conversation with Setrakian and Quinlan about madness, like how Quinlan's seen hunters, always working alone, and they've gone into this insane psyche eventually, sort of just losing themselves in what they're trying to do. But Setrakian has people, so he might not go down that path unless causes Setrakian though to sort of remember something he did that was perhaps a little bit overboard, despite the person being pretty damn evil. We get this flashback to Setrakian in the 70s. And I like the guy they have playing Setrakian in the flashbacks too. We've seen him for the past couple seasons, so I think he does a good job. We see him go back into the 70s, and he's looking for I-Course. But this leads to a pretty good story that we see Setrakian and I-Course talk about back in season 1. But again, we'll get to that in a couple minutes. Palmer, we see his health is declining, and because he hasn't had the white for a while, and then he meets this new partner with I-Course than the others. He doesn't seem to be as fully invested or interested in it anymore. As we've seen, he tried to make a deal with Setrakian in a previous episode this season. Then we actually get some interesting, scientific stuff here. Affy's dissecting one of the brains of the strigori they captured, and we see that these worms, they end up going to the brain, like clustering, and basically comprise the nervous system, which I actually found to be kind of interesting. And they respond to microwaves apparently, and also you can see like when they would injure one of the other strigori that was laying there, they would actually respond to it in a way, or look over there. And so they get this idea that perhaps they can sort of disrupt their communication. This way they find out that they do have this communication, not grid, but way of getting from one to the other. That's probably also connected to the master, controls all of them. He's this main power source, he can transmit to the others. Which really does make sense. I'm glad that they're still, even though the whole strigori and master thing is very much a supernatural type of thing, there's also legitimate scientific and biological reasons for it being able to do that as well, which I think makes it still very much comic booky and supernatural, but at the same time slightly realistic for what it is. So I do like that. I found it to be pretty interesting. And they're pretty interested in this. This could be a legitimate thing to be aware of, and they could easily play around with that quite a bit. But Feraldo, she is changing a little bit. She's getting a little more cold, I think, and she's kind of rushing Eph and Dutch here. And it's a little bit of a joke later on, Dutch saying she needs to get laid, and Eph is going to leave that to her. And of course Dutch makes a little bit of a comment about how her power is kind of sexy, and this causes Eph to bring up Fett, speaking of sexy power. But it doesn't seem like Fett and Dutch are going to be rekindling anything anytime soon, but we'll see. I do want to see our group working together again, but it's going to be kind of tough. I almost feel like there's going to be some kind of bigger character death at the end of the season. I might have to unite them. I don't know. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting. Let's see. Yeah, Fett is going around in the tunnels, sort of around the Central Park area. He is attacked, and he does find this strigori construction crew. They're drilling holes, and they're giving themselves new ways to get in. And really, the strigori are becoming smarter. Of course, they're under the master's control, but they're able to actually operate these machines and such. So we get kind of an intense action sequence with Fett fending them off, and he tosses one into this machine they are using, and the blood splatters everywhere. And I know this has happened before, but I feel like, realistically, probably would have gotten some of the blood or worms on him, I think, but it is what it is. We have to make a good story here, right? We don't want him to die right now. And people complain about that all the time, but I think they just take it too far. Just enjoy the show, enjoy the story, and the characters, Let's see. I talked about the Eph, Dutch, and Feraldo thing. And then we see more of the Setrakian flashback in the 70s. We see that he's going after Dreverhaven again, or Dremerhaven, I forgot how you pronounce it. But we've seen him in a previous flashback in another season, if you guys remember, when he was trying to track down the lumen. And, he had run off, and Setrakian was able to get a hold of it. But, of course, Dreverhaven fled, and this led to I-Course confronting him later that night, and, of course, stinging him. And it's pretty much implied that he was turned after that point. Except we didn't know then if he was drained or actually turned. But we see Setrakian, he was probably hoping to find I-Course, but he finds this guy, who is, of course, someone he also knew from the Holocaust. And, of course, eventually the guy reveals himself, and he tries to attack Setrakian, who is, like, offering him the lumen. And, of course, Setrakian's able to burn him. And this is the part that actually gets kind of twisted. And he finds a basement that Dreverhaven had, where he would, like, torture and do various things to, people. And he actually uses this, and he ends up dismembering the guy, and or the strigori now, and cutting him to pieces and putting him in a box and dumping him in the ocean, which is something Setrakian says was the closest to madness he ever came. Of course, it kind of brings you to that debate of, it doesn't make him that much better than the enemies if he's going as far as they do, or worse. The guy obviously did deserve it, though, but still, it kind of puts your mind in a darker place that you can't really pull yourself out of once you cross that line, But I really like this because it was actually a tie back to something we heard about very early on in Season 1, if you guys remember, when Setrakian was first sitting in, I think, this, I forget if it was a jail or something, after he had that rant at the airport initially, when Icor sat down with him. Setrakian talked about, do you remember your friend Dreverhaven? And he talked about cutting him to pieces and dumping him in the ocean. We actually seen this here, which I thought was really cool. Although I don't know if Icorst and Dreverhaven are actually really friends or anything, or if Dreverhaven is just like a convenient tool. Although he probably became pretty trustworthy to Icorst and the Master if they were willing to actually full-on turn him and let him have control like that too. But still, it's really good to see this. I thought it was a pretty good tie back. Let me see Setrakian in the present. He makes a pretty big discovery with, as him and Quinlan are researching. He finally finds this clue, and he actually sees that there's hidden text in the lumen that can be revealed when put under the sun, which of course is huge. This could easily be the key that they are looking for. It talks about like sort of like trapping the Master, and this might actually be the solution. Like somehow isolating the worm, or the Master entirely. And so, like, trying to kill him outright, this might be the answer. Sort of like lying it in, like, silver and lead and such, it might work. But we'll see how it goes. And, of course, I have to turn it here. And, of course, we see Fett also makes a very different kind of discovery, very deep beneath Central Park, which, of course, is the picture I used for the thumbnail. There's, like, possibly over 1,000 strigori just waiting down there, and so yeah, they're just waiting to be sent up there and just to cause mass chaos. So that's obviously setting up for next week's episode, the Battle for Central Park, which is going to be probably one of our most action heavy episodes ever. I'm really looking forward to it, and it was a pretty cool visual to see them like all huddled there, sleeping, waiting to be sent out there. There's probably there's of course CGI with that, but it still looked pretty cool, I think. Let's see. And then we see Eph and Dutch there, testing their communication interference idea with the strigori. And at first it seems to be working, but then, it seems like the strigori is actually so smart enough to try and actually pick the lock or unlock the lock and open the door. I'm going to have to put him down after that. Let's see, I cannot read my own writing here. Let's see. But yeah, I still think they're onto something with that, though. I think it's something they could easily like meddle around with more and end up using to their advantage. But we'll see where it goes. But F does sort of talk about how when there's success, he almost like forgets like all the other shit going on, and it stops his mind from going to some darker places with, of course, everything that's happened with his son, his wife, Nora. So it's understandable. He's sort of on the brink of his own sanity right now. So I do hope they have a little bit of a brighter spot for him eventually. I talked about their Setrakian and Quinlan's idea to trap the Master. And we see Setrakian, he actually goes to Palmer. He's willing to make a deal with him at this point. He's not going to give him the formula to the White, but he's going to give him a drop, to keep him around for, as long as he needs, apparently. And this is in exchange for finding out what body the Master is in at this point. And we don't find out, but I'm still guessing it. They're definitely building up to a major reveal, and I feel like it's obviously the obvious choice is Zach, and that still might be the case. But I feel like it's gonna end up. I feel like it might sort of throw us for a loop. I feel like it might end up being F, which of course I'd hate to see, but of course it'd be a very big blow, to the show as a whole and stuff like that. I'd hate to see that happen to F, but I feel like that might be like a major twist or something. Or I could see Fett. I'd hate to see that happen to Fett too, but Kevin Durant would probably be a pretty creepy master. I feel like the obvious one's probably going to be Zach or something. Or who knows, it might be Feraldo. No, I don't think so. Feraldo's days are pretty numbered, I think. And I like Icor's to stay as his own character, but we'll see. I'm guessing we'll probably find out within the next couple episodes, though. But yeah, overall, Madness, really good episode, another really good builder. The Central Park episode next week should be pretty crazy, and I can't wait to see how the rest of the season goes. Only 10 episodes this season, but it's just that much more awesome with that condensed story. So yeah, really enjoying it. I'm giving this episode about an 8.6 out of 10, I think. So yeah, let me know you guys how about the episode. If there's anything I missed, which I'm sure there was, feel free to leave a comment below. Let's talk about more with you guys. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, like, subscribe, and peace.